off a daily fantasy. His number too high, then I'm probably fading him. He been on the road, he gon' eat up my salary. I hit a buy, he gon' lie before lock. Play back to back, then I probably won't pick on the DFS bachelor good as it gets. Bit a few liners and hit me a leg. He had a good game, but it might be a trick. Log in the Slack so I know who to pick. Sharing our liners, we all gon' get rich. New to this game, you should come to the pad. You might want some cash and get a good laugh. DFS sports, we gon' run up a bag. He heard every game and it's making me mad. You buying your lineups, I think you a cheater. DFS bachelor, he the new leader. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Bachelor Pad. I, of course, am your host of DFS Bachelor, and I am joined by our League of Legends DFS super analyst, Mr. Mike, Mr. at League of Items on Twitter. How you doing, brother?
Hey, what's up?
Not no Rona over there in New Jersey yet for you? Guys healthy?
Yeah, we're all good. No Rona, but also barely any winning lineups. Victory 5 didn't pull off the upset yesterday. About 3 minutes into the matchup, I felt like a super genius. And then 1 minute after that, I felt like a super idiot. So that was fun. Yeah, and then Fun Plus Phoenix managed to lose. SKT managed to lose. And Top Esports managed to lose. So another slate where we have 3 huge favorites lose, which is just like crazy. So, you know, it is the end of the season. You might want to start thinking about it as week 17 in the NFL. It's not that they're like subbing out players, but they are trying new things to get ready for playoffs. So if you have a team that definitely has their playoff position locked up, there's a chance that they kind of are just messing around. Right. So we should probably be a little more clear on who has playoff implications and who's like safe and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And at the same time, you know, for bankroll management, you don't want to overexpose yourself to these crazy weeks because like one thing goes sideways, and if you have heavily correlated lineups, then all of your lineups are going to turn to shit.
Right.
So
yeah, like me last night.
Be careful. Yeah, exactly.
That was me last night. I got a little too cocky. I was like, "Ooh, I can make multiple ones without hedging and make them all winners." Like I started thinking that was a mistake. But I had fun. It's all about having fun, never playing more than you can afford to lose. Follow a strategy, even if that means taking a risk. Your moment will happen if you follow a strategy, stick to it. You know it's whether it's
trust the process.
Trust the process, exactly, and it'll happen. Just how it is. So we got a 5-game LPL LCK slate. First things first. Thank you for all your guys' support. The show just keeps getting bigger and bigger for League of Legends, and it's truly humbling that you make us a part of your day every day. Thank you so much. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the team. Please hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the like button. Get access to all the content that we have. Be sure to check the video description below. There's a link to Mike's Twitter, which has a link to his Patreon. There's a link to his YouTube page, which will have his Patreon as well. I got that question a few times. Don't worry, I answered it for them. You're welcome. Cool. Got him sent over there properly. Yeah, of course. I treat Mike sometimes like I'm his dad. I've only known him for a week. And I can't help it. I'm just getting old, and I don't mean to, but it's just because I already care about you.
I was in a fake Twitter feud yesterday with somebody, and I get a text message like the world is ending. For those of you who weren't watching, somebody was trying to get another person like onto the show, so we do like a 3 or 4 person show, and I basically started saying things like, "I'm going to fight that person, and I hope that they're ready for a battle royale or a death match," and then he was taking it pretty serious, but it wasn't serious. I mean, to be honest, if somebody wants to like fight me in real life, I'm not a guy that's going to go out there and fight people. That's just not who I am.
I'm an idiot.
If I'm on Twitter, I will say something ridiculous like I will fight you. Yeah, that's just the way it is. You got to troll.
I just already love you, bro. So my dad meters up. I'm
it's
going
troll
crazy here.
It's a troll or be trolled world.
That's it.
And I know what side I want to be on.
Gotcha. I gotcha. But thank you. Hit subscribe, all that. Also, there is a link in the video description below. There is a League of Legends breakdown, like cheat sheet that our boy Jordan does over there. For you e-simulation, like NBA, MLB, setting player pools over there as well. You can use it in the optimizer. You can try it 30 days for $1. That's also in the video description. And real quick before we get into it, just to cover this, we still get asked a lot. For the LPL games, that's the Chinese league, the starters are already out on. I already retweeted it out. You can go down the timeline and find it right there. The Korean games, again, start after lock, so we will not know the starters until, sometimes 5 or 10 minutes before lock, sometimes you don't know at all. That's just how it is. So there's a little bit of risk with the Korean League teams. There's 2 Korean games, APK, Hanwei Life, and Sandbox, and KT Rolster. So let's just jump into it, huh? First game?
Bird.
LGD and LGD and OMG. OMG is the favorite right now.
Yes.
I think LGD is a live dog, of course, in this matchup.
Yeah. So I think I haven't taken a look at the lineups yet, so let me just make sure that I have those in front of me.
Sure.
But I agree that LGD is a live dog, specifically because they have Peanut, and my kind of theory about everything is that if you have a good enough jungler, you can beat anybody, and Peanut is definitely one of those players. So in a couple of the past videos, we've talked about like when do underdogs have a realistic chance of winning, and I think it's most likely when the jungler is also a carry player, because if a jungler is going to play tanks and like slow champions and have to play around his team, it's much more difficult for them to win the game on their own. But if they play things like Kindred or Graves or Lee Sin or Olaf, like a lot of players play those champions, but they don't play them the right way. Somebody like Peanut can play them to like their optimal performance. So that's really what we're looking for when we roster somebody.
How many teams make the playoffs in LPL?
I think 8.
8. So OMG's right there on that 8 spot.
Yeah, I think that LGD is the kind of team where they have been like so bad this entire season. They're trying to figure things out for like the next split.
Right.
Now, obviously, that could go sideways as well, where like they just put out a stinker because they've been bad like the entire season. But like just personally, I don't think Peanut is the kind of player who wants everybody watching him play like shit.
Right. Because
there's no benefit to him
Sure.
for that.
Sure.
So
and for the record of all the LPL favorites, OMG is the cheapest. So there's value on both sides of this matchup, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of matchup where if LGD wins, I think it'll be higher scoring than if OMG wins, just because of playstyle differences.
Right.
So for the lineups, we have Lies, Peanut, Yuki, Kramer, and Kahlua versus Curse, Hacker, Icon, SMLZ, and Cold. So there's no real surprises there, except for maybe Lies on LGD.
Right.
So if I was making a lineup around LGD, I think that the player that I would want the least exposure to is probably Lies, just because he's the one who's the most likely to get taken out and subbed.
Right. He just played really well. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me check the champions out for that set. Just let me know what do you think about this? So are you leaning towards OMG or LGD?
I think this is one I'll probably hedge. But there's 2 games I kind of want to hedge. The World Elite E-Star game, which we'll get to, and this one both feel like hedges to me. So this might be a night where I play more lineups than usual just so I can get exposure to what I want and give myself a shot at the top.
And by hedge you mean like have exposure to both sides, right?
Exactly. Have exposure to both sides. And when we say live dog, that means an underdog that has a chance at winning.
Yeah.
I mean, they all theoretically do, but the underdogs with the best chance of winning.
Yes, there are some more than others, definitely.
Right.
So anybody who is considering rostering LGD players, make sure you go to my channel and check out the breakdown that I'm putting out today for LGD against RNG. So in their last matchup, LGD played against Royal Never Give Up, who's like a top 3 or 4 team, or was a top 3 or 4 team in China.
Yeah.
They're 7-4, and there's like a clump of teams between 4th and 6th place that are 7-4 or 8-4, depending on how many matchups they've played. And LGD beat them like pretty hard. So Xiaohu, who's the mid laner for RNG, had a really bad series, especially in the first game. He died 8 times. Lies played Wukong and Ornn. So that scares me a little bit. Ornn is definitely a good champion, and Wukong is a boomer bust kind of champion. So he got ahead in the first game, and he went 4-1-9. But then Ornn, the tank, he went 5-2-12. So it does kind of depend on what happens in the game. But his champion pool shouldn't be a problem unless they get behind early. Because once Wukong gets behind, it's very difficult for him to be impactful in later team fights. He's not going to be the appropriate amount of tankiness to like play his role. So that's pretty scary for me. It's basically like it's just way too risky. I think it's just not a good draft strategy. So that makes me question LGD's drafting a little bit.
Gotcha. Even though it worked out for him, doesn't necessarily mean it was the right strategy. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and because like something similar happened last night for V5. Like I know I get it. V5, I liked them way too much yesterday, and I was fading DMO. But when I looked at the ownership percentages last night after the contest locked, DMO was up around 20%. And if your main reason for rostering a team is that the other team is like bad, that's not a good enough reason. Like that doesn't give me enough conviction to play a team. It'll make me look at them a little more. And I did have one hedge stack with DMO, but I thought that the matchups lined up pretty well. And in the beginning of that set, V5 did have a chance.
Right.
So if you were playing OMG tonight, who would you play from OMG?
Well, I don't see a ton of upside in their AD carry, so for me it would be more like a top support and team situation and hope for the 2-0 victory.
Sure, I think that's smart.
That's probably what I would be doing as a secondary stack because I don't see the huge upside. Even when they win, they're not a big scoring team like you said. If OMG wins, it's probably lower scoring.
Yeah.
So that's how I would treat OMG I think that's right anyways.
Yeah, so if I was going to play OMG, I think that the scenario I'd have to convince myself is that LGD played really well against RNG, is going to lay an egg in this one for some reason, fill in your own reason there, and then OMG is going to get the 2-0.
And they need the win.
From behind.
OMG needs the win. They're not secure in the playoff standings. There's essentially a half game up on World Elite. They have World Elite 15 points, OMG 18 points, but World Elite's played one less game.
Yeah, I think it's possible that OMG can get the 2-0, but instead of OMG being one of my primary teams or secondary teams when I'm looking to stack stuff, I might just look at them as a salary saving option when compared to the other favorites.
Sure.
And then also as like a filler. So if I have like a very popular stack or something that's projected to be a very popular stack, maybe I just go in there and use like a one-off from OMG, hoping that they get the 2-0 and be a little different from other people.
Sure, completely agree with that.
So if LGD picks Wukong 2 games in a row, the top laner from OMG could have the best series of his life.
Gotcha. And that is Curse.
Yeah.
Correct? That's Curse. Who he would need to have the best game of his life because even in wins, he doesn't put up a lot. I don't see anything in his last 10 games over 74 points. He only went over 70 once. So that's just, I mean, that's not like gospel, but there is some, validity into what he's been doing recently, especially in wins if he's not getting there. So, all right, LGD OMG done. Our next game is a Korean League game. So again, we won't know the starters in this game. So for those of you who've been watching the last week, this is repetitive, but if you are new, Korea's anti-gambling. So when I'm playing these Korean teams, unless it's an issue like here at the top for APK, Ixu and Alphamong. Ixu's just definitely going to play. Alphamong hasn't even played, right? So you can play that with confidence, but I try to focus on players that do not have a substitute at that position so that I know I'm not going to get a 0. That's the best way to do it if you're trying to avoid zeros and play safe. Now, if you're playing GPPs, want lower ownership, you want to take a chance, like the Jackie Love scenario, however, I get that.
Oh, yeah, he's coming in, by the way. I cannot imagine their team being okay with how they're playing right now.
Right.
They have to get him in there.
Right.
Like, they looked so bad. And the fact that they can lose, like, those 2 series back-to-back, that's just crazy. There's no way that you can justify playing that roster in the playoffs without Jackie Love.
Yeah, makes total sense. So in this matchup, Hanwei Life is the favorite. Probably some recency bias there. These two teams did play back on March 4th, so about a month ago, and APK beat Hanwei Life 2-0 in that matchup about a month ago. But APK is the underdog and very, very cheap.
Yeah, I like both sides. It's similar to the first matchup. I probably want exposure to both sides. The main reason that I think APK is good is because they can play around their AD carry. He's a very talented player, and he's done well in some pretty difficult matchups, specifically when they played Damwon Gaming. like their match against Damwon Gaming showed that even in a loss, they could score a ton of points because they know how to make a game last a long time. Part of that's going to be because Damwon Gaming couldn't finish them off, but the other side of things is that they played a Kog'Maw composition, where like they put all of their resources into their AD carry, and they were able to stand toe to toe with Damwon Gaming, which is a relatively good team.
Wait, are you talking about the last game that they played?
No, this was a couple matches ago.
Oh, okay. They lost 2-0 in that one, right? That's what you're talking about?
I think they...
Yeah, 0-2. But he still scored 50 points in the 0-2 game.
Yeah, and in that first game, he had like 40-something.
Yeah, and he's got big upside. Of all the Korean, like, 80 carries, he's got some of the higher upside on the slate. When he goes off, he goes off. You know?
Yeah, and that's not necessarily like a talent thing.
That's just game style.
It's a game style thing, yeah. So he had 3 matches in a row where he scored over 100 points. That's the kind of thing you want to find, especially in Korea, because it means that their team plays a style that can generate a lot of points, even though they're not a very strong team.
Right.
Hanwha Life Esports, one issue that they've had throughout the season is, one issue that DFS players have had with Hanwha Life is that they continuously change their mid laner and their AD carries from set to set and in between games. So this is another game that I would definitely want to look at the top jungle and support before I look anywhere else.
Perfect. Makes sense.
And then if you think they're going to win, then you're going to need to have exposure and just kind of it's going to be risky taking a mid laner or an AD carry.
From Hanwha Life. Yeah, let's check that out. I'll put it on the screen so that they can see it. Yeah. Because Lava and Tempt both play at the mid lane. Vista and Zenit both play AD carry. So that's kind of what we're talking about. If you go to their jungler, they only have one. So you know he's not getting subbed out. Their top laner, etc.
Yeah, so their last match they went 2-0 against the Freak of Freaks. So the most like straightforward way of thinking about this is that they're just going to run out the same roster, but they've changed up rosters like after wins before, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a difficult situation. And the fact that they changed things out so much makes me like the APK side a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think tonight is going to be another night where we have some underdogs win.
APK
and that's
the underdog.
In the composition. What was that?
APK is the underdog in this one, if I saw correctly.
They are. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
so
okay.
like APK is a live dog. LGD is a live dog. I know that you have some opinions about some other live dogs on the slate.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough for this one.
Yeah. I like the APK side. I'll have more exposure to the APK side than the Hanwha Life side for me. And I like high salary savings in the captain spot. Our next game, LPL, Chinese League team, World Elite versus E-Star. E-Star is the favorite in this one. I think World Elite's probably my second favorite underdog besides APK tonight. I like World Elite quite a bit. I like their upside, and they're super cheap.
Yeah, so last match, World Elite beat Top Esports. Top Esports is dead to me. Just kidding, not really.
They're dead to me. Fuck
where's
them.
Jackie Love? We need Jackie Love. RIP Photic. Yeah. So with World Elite, they have a play style where they're not afraid of making plays in the early game, which a lot of teams are. So like one of the popular things people were talking about on Twitter yesterday is that like the teams in the EU Masters tournament that's going on right now, they're willing to play a very aggressive play style and go to make a winning play, even from like a 50-50 position, which is exactly what I want to see from all the teams that I'm betting on, because it means that they're not going to let the game slip away from them without trying. Like in every game, you're going to have a few opportunities to make something happen, and you need to seize those opportunities. I think World Elite can create them. Like there's a difference between recognizing an opportunity and creating an opportunity. World Elite can go out there and create opportunities. So they are a live dog. I do want exposure to them. E-Star has been having a rough time recently.
Yeah, they have.
So I definitely think they're going to be a little more contrarian and lower owned than they should be. If I was doing projections based off of what I think the ownership should be, I would probably want to have E-Star in the high teens or low 20s. And I think this might be a day where they go lower to like 10%. Like last night, the Faker was like 9% owned or 7% owned.
Yeah.
So like there are going to be times where you have a pretty big favorite that is surprisingly low.
Yeah, and they still scored like I had Khan, and they he was low, not very highly owned and cheap, but he fucking didn't do shit, and they still won.
Yeah.
Or I think they won. Yeah, they
No, they lost.
Oh, they lost.
won-
That's right.
they
They're
won
another
yeah.
favorite that lost. Just for the whole play, we were talking about the playoff situation. E-Star is fourth, pretty secured right where they're at. There's kind of a battle in those points and records. They have some of the higher point totals at 20. I don't know if that matters. 27 points, and World Elite's right on that playoff line. They need a win. So I don't know if that changes things a little bit, makes World Elite more aggressive.
If E-Star was winning a lot of their matches and coasting at this point, I would agree with you. But I think E-Star needs to fight off a long losing streak, because if they continuously lose these matchups at the end of the season, they're going to go into playoffs not really understanding how good they are.
Right.
Because if you're a good team, you should be able to go into a series, draft well, and then at least take one game. Right. They're losing some of these games pretty extreme, which makes me think that they don't have a great grasp on the meta right now. But with that being said, these guys are playing a ton of solo queue, and their coaches are doing their work, I'm sure. So it's only a matter of time before they kind of figure things out, because there's two ways to figure it out. You either do all of the analysis and statistic work yourself, or you just copy everybody else.
Right.
If you can figure it out yourself, you're in a much better position, because if you have to steal away everybody else's game plans, you're never going to have as good of a game plan as they are, because they know all of the intricacies and why it works and why they set it up that way, and you're just copying them.
Right.
So I do think World Elite is a live dog. I think that most of the public is going to think they're a live dog as well. So that makes me a little bit less interested in World Elite. But you're going to have exposure to them if you're running out a lot of lineups.
Yeah, huge upside. Even in losses, we were just talking about their 80 carries, Yumeng. Their last two matches that they've lost, he scored 138.7 and 98.02 in losses. So many 3-game matches here. They just seem, especially their last 5 or 6 matches have been 3-game matches. Just bloodbaths and kills and deaths and kills and assists everywhere. So
yeah, and
even one-offing them, I don't have a problem with. If you want to get some upside somewhere, their team price is very cheap. I don't really like that as much, because I don't think they go 2-0 if they win, right? It's more of a 2-1 scenario.
That's a good point. And I think that it speaks to how they have to win games, because the reason why they can go 1-2 and still put up a good fantasy performance is because in that one win, they have a chance of scoring between 25 to 30 kills. Every team could theoretically do that. World Elite has done it several times. Right. And 25 to 30 is on the extreme end of things. But if they had a game that they won and they didn't have at least 18 kills, that would be surprising to me.
Right. And that same goes for Ticherma, their mid laner. So
he's been really good.
Yeah, he's been really good. I just like the upside of World Elite. If you get the outcome that you want, you're going to get high point totals. They're not going to win, and you're not going to get a win and 65 from their 80 carry. That's just not going to happen. They're going to put up a shit ton of points, and so that even though I do agree they'll probably be higher owned because they are a cheap dog with big upside. I think it's obvious that they have the biggest upside of all the underdogs.
Yeah, I still prefer the E-Star side. I would want more exposure to E-Star than World Elite, but if I was going to play World Elite, I would definitely try to find a way to play Ticherma and Xiaomeng, so I think that it'd be part of a 4-3 stack.
Sure.
Or a 3-4 stack where I'm getting 2 carries from World Elite and making one of them my captain. And then what I want to say about Ticherma is that his champion pool is very good for DraftKings, because he plays things like Aurelion Sol and Pantheon, which are going to help create fights in the middle of the game, in the early and mid game. Mm-hmm. And he's going to go from lane to lane, creating those opportunities for kills that also have 3 to 4 assists in the early part of the game, which increases the upside of your team by a lot.
Right. Boom. Badass. Anything else in this game before we move along?
I think that is it.
That is it. Let's move on to our second Korean League team, Sandbox and KT Rolster. I believe KT is the favorite. Neither of these teams are very good. Is that
KT
right?
just won last night. They just beat someone good last night. They just beat T1.
T1, yeah. That keeps happening. You know what? I'm starting to think T1's not as good as they fucking think. T1 lets me down a lot.
I promise you, T1 is playing in positions that they know are losing positions because they're trying to push themselves. There's no way that they can give up these drafts and not have some kind of ulterior motives for playoffs.
Gotcha.
So they have done this in the past, especially at the end of seasons where they start bringing in substitutes and they just look worse, and then people don't take them as seriously, and then they get into the first round of playoffs and they play some like kind of extreme snowball mid-game thing and just dominate. Like
Gotcha.
when we get into the playoff portion of this, I'm not sure what kind of slates DraftKings is going to put out, but I'm going to want more exposure to T1 in those situations than in any other kind of game environment, because they're going to play they're going to play team compositions that are a little bit more aggressive than the regular season, and the enemy is going to try even harder to not lose the game. So they're not going to roll over and die. They're going to try to fight. And that's when you get the huge upside from T1. Like if you look at the World Championships, when they're playing other regions and like in these different kinds of game environments with high kills, they can score with anybody. It's not an issue for T1.
Nice. So
yeah. So in this matchup, I think Sandbox Gaming is more risky in terms of knowing who they're going to play in their lineup. If they played their best players, then Summit and On Fleek are going to be playing, but you just never know. So It's tough to have a lot of confidence in Sandbox. That's also going to decrease their ownership percentage for everybody who has a substitute. So I'd probably be looking at them around 5%.
Right.
I don't think that I'm going to have any exposure to Sandbox on this slate.
Right.
KT, when they won last night, they won 2-0, and they didn't put up a lot of kills against T1. I think you should probably have a little bit of exposure to KT.
Yeah, their carry has upside. He's got 100-point upside. They've shown the ability to do that. What's the records of these teams?
For this matchup, I would say make sure that you watch out on Twitter for the graphs that Sports Projections puts out, and look to see if Sandbox Gaming is a good team to score points against.
Right. I'm just kind of looking at it now. Yeah. KT side, I don't have any Sandbox, which means I'm probably jinxing it, and they'll be in every first place lineup tonight, because that just seems to be what. Like, honestly, I didn't play more Billy Gaming last night because I'm like, he definitely reverse jinxed Top Esports. They're gonna dominate because he reverse jinxed it. I played off your reverse jinx. Damn it, get too cute sometimes. That's really it for this game, right?
Yes.
Again, yeah, really the only safe play for me is the carry and mid for KT, because they don't have a backup.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with that. Our final game, Rogue Warriors, RNG. RNG is obviously the favorite in this game. But if I had to guess, you're going to tell me there's some upside for Rogue Warriors, right? Because of their
definitely. Both sides have upside. I think that RNG getting destroyed last match makes me want to play them more, because they're a very volatile team and they can put up a ton of points. Rogue Warriors gives up a ton of points. It's a very good spot, like a good game environment for fantasy scoring. So I want exposure to both teams. For RNG, the most important player is Xiaohu, their mid laner. But even though he is the most important player, Betty is the one who normally benefits from that.
Right.
So if the game plays along like a normal game script, then Betty is going to get a lot of kills. I like both sides.
Yep, me too. Obviously, I'll have more RNG because there's just other underdogs that I think that are underpriced that I like. RNG for me, if they win, feels like they're the favorite with the easiest path to a 2-0 victory, and it's still being like a high kill, high score type of game, and they're a little bit more expensive. So I'll probably lean that way and try to differentiate myself with other underdogs and maybe different stacks, 3-2-2 or whatever. But yeah, of course, both sides. I'm right there with you. I like both sides. And if Rogue Warrior somehow pulls out the win, which is not outside their realm of possibility, RNG has not been, world beaters or anything lately. So there's some upside. It's not my favorite choice in terms of underdogs, but I think, they warrant some exposure.
Yeah, I love Rogue Warriors. Haro is a great jungler for DraftKings scoring. His playstyle is very good. He had a 13 kill Elise game in that big slate. I had a lot of exposure to him, and then Top Esports fucked me. I think we all know that by now.
Mm-hmm. How was it?
It was horrible. It was very bad. Didn't like it. Rogue Warriors, if I want exposure to them, I would do four player stacks, 3 player stacks. I would have lineups with Haro and Zwuji separate from the rest of its team. And then I would also probably have lineups with Haro plus Crazy, hoping that he would play, because in their last matchup, he scored 88 points in 2 games. He only played 2 out of the 3 games, but he scored a ton of points. They have good synergy together.
Yeah. Haro's
so I would
killing
want
it. Haro, even in losses, Haro's killing
yeah.
it. 100
So I want
points.
exposure to those players, and I would also do one-offs where I have just Crazy, just Haro, or just Zwuji
Love that.
as like a late game hammer.
Love that.
And I would also consider game stacking this game and the World Elite E-Star game.
Yeah. Like Haro for a one-off at jungler you can get for 5,400. And
Yeah,
he's
I think
absolutely
some
just tearing it up.
Some combination of this matchup plus World Elite and E-Star is going to do very well tonight.
Agreed.
I think that's the easiest way to build lineups tonight.
That's exactly where I'm at as well. A little bit of APK. I think APK could be. I like hybrid, and I think there's some sleeper upside potential there as well.
Yep.
Anything else on these games before we give our top threes?
I think we did it pretty well today. A little bit faster than usual, right?
Yeah, we're at 30 minutes. We'll see how this lasts. Right. We'll see if we carry this on 10 minutes. It could happen. For me, I guess I'll go first. Yeah, my favorites are RNG, APK, and I guess those are E-Star, I suppose, but I like the other side a lot too because World Elite's my favorite underdog.
Yeah.
APK is an underdog. They're not even a favorite.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna have a lot of RNG as I look at it.
Yeah, I like RNG. I like E-Star. I'm curious to see how resilient like the ownership is on these teams because they have been a little disappointing recently, right. And that might force people to go towards OMG. I think that the teams I'm going to have the most exposure to tonight are LGD, World Elite, E-Star, Rogue Warriors, and RNG.
Yeah, I'm probably right there with you, but I'll probably have more APK than Rogue Warriors. I think
the ownership on this slate might get out of control.
Yeah,
if people are willing to just like let it ride on E-Star and RNG because of their matchups, I think that we could see ownerships in the 30s to like low 40s, maybe even 50%.
Right.
Depending on the contest. That's not going to happen in the Titans Fury, but some of the smaller contests, I could definitely see that happening.
Right. Yeah, I think that's it. Again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, be part of the drawing during the week. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at DFS Bachelor, at League of Items. Check out his YouTube channel. There's a link down there below as well. He'll have his sheet available that gives you all the data you could ever try to process in a day.
Yeah.
I know he's got it for $5. Hit him up. He's also answering questions about it, etc. Like, it's just, You're not going to get any better knowledge anywhere else.
Yeah, and make sure if you do end up buying it, you need to watch the videos that are on YouTube. Check out the uploads and then check out the live streams. I've done some walkthroughs about how to use the sheet. Some people are a little confused by it, but just reach out to me and I'll help you out.
Great. Perfect. Once again, may the fantasy gods be with you all. Cheers. Grab some coffee and Bailey's. We really do appreciate you guys. Thank you all so much. We'll see you tomorrow. We're going every single day. All right. Love you guys. Peace.